This video covers our Safe Surf beta. So we're looking at offering a service that I'm starting an example of here, where you can connect up to a virtual desktop over the internet, over a secure connection. This is going over SSH, and do what we would call internet work. You're surfing, doing email, things that you typically do out on the internet. And we're running a beta to try and get some feedback, see what people think of the concept. So I've started a session here. I've connected up to my remote desktop, my virtual session, and when I do this, the first thing that happens is I open up a browser, and we're also trying to provide a fairly full range of application that won't do everything that you want to do, but do what we find the bulk of people do when they use a computer, that they're browsing, they're working with Word, and Excel types of documents. So we're using all open source tools to try and keep the cost down. So there is the equivalent of Microsoft Office up here, but the open source version, so I can work with Excel spreadsheets and Word documents. I have a application where I can play video and play MP3s. There's the equivalent of Thunderbird, so if I wanted to set up a email client up here, I can, or I can just go do my email through my browser. Can manipulate photos and pictures, some games, and then some random applications that you may or may not use, but things like a notepad type of application, screenshots, and sticky notes. So when I come up here, the goal is to give me first of all a secure environment. So some of the stuff we see is that people will go to websites, and when you're trying to find something out, trying to do some research, you're not sure exactly what website you're going to end up on, and so you end up on a website and either it's been hacked or it's dodgy, and they download and install stuff, do drive-by installs on your computer. So things like the fake antiviruses, or maybe ransomware, where they suddenly tell you you got to contact the FBI, and they're lying to you, and they mess up your host machine. So we're trying to make an environment up here where that types of those sorts of things are very difficult. We think by and large those aren't going to happen. We'll stop them. So having said that, still use your head when you're out on the internet. And our guess is if the Chinese military wants to break our approach, they probably can, but the types of things that we see that most people run into, we think will head off. If perchance the virtual environment does get messed up, then it's comparatively easy to put it back. And then lastly, trying to prevent if the virtual environment does get messed up, make sure that something doesn't come down and mess up your host computer, your native Windows machine. So we're not taking anything away. You still have your native browser, and what we're guessing is that we're not guessing that video is not great up on the virtual environment. You can watch it, you can get sound, but what you'd probably do is use your native browser, the one running on your host computer, if you want to do something like go to YouTube or do a webinar. So things where the site, you trust it, and you're confident that they're not going to be doing something to your computer, as opposed to where I'm trying to do research on something where I would not sure where I'm going to end up on the internet, and I want to be doing it in a way that I'm less worried about it messing up my host computer. Having said all that, phishing sorts of attacks where you get an email and they're trying to download and install something, we think we'll head that off. But if you were to, for example, respond to an email from quote unquote the IRS, who asked you for your social security number, or a bank account number, and you type that in and sent it to them, we don't know how to prevent that as of yet. So there's the security angle of this. We're also trying to emphasize privacy. So I've been doing my searches right now using something called DuckDuckGo. So I'm outside of I'm not using a search engine right now where they're sort of peeking at what I'm doing. You can change search engines, so there's Google, but I'm choosing to use one that I think is more private. We're also including something called HTTPS. So that means if a site has SSL HTTPS enabled, that it'll enforce it and add to my privacy. And then we're also providing, as part of the virtual environment, an additional partition where if I put things in here, then we can't see them on the server. So I could put documents and so on in here. We're backing all of this up, but our staff can't see them on the server, and so that gives you a sort of an extra place to kind of keep private things. We're making it by design sort of difficult to move things up and down from the virtual environment to your host computer, and we would encourage you to be cautious about doing that, because you could have a file that is infected up here and doesn't infect the virtual environment, doesn't allow any spying on you. But if you bring it down to your host computer, then that would be a game changer. You can move things around. You can email yourself something. You could use all of the sort of the cloud file share types of services, but that's how you would move things around if you needed to move things up and down from the cloud area or our environment to your native computer. So we appreciate you taking a look at this. We're looking to get a handful of people to use it as part of our beta. Give us some feedback. Let us know whether they like it, whether they think this has some market viability or not, and look forward to getting that input.